Okay, so now's where I get selfish. Like I want to understand. Let's first start with Buffalo. This is your first time. Let's say you've made the first loop, so 50 miles. So for context, for those who are listening, Buffalo is 2 50-mile loops.
Yeah.
And the first 20 miles is really interesting. And then the next 30 is really flat and long, even on the mountainside. And it's very runnable. And during the day, it's very enjoyable by and large. And you get to the ranch, and then you come back. You go around like the north end, and then you come back. And then you got to do it all over again. Yeah. So even before we get to like how crazy the 200 was, do you remember being at mile 50 at Buffalo, knowing that you're about to do all of what you just did again?
Yeah, I trained really high mileage. I like to set high mileage all the time, but specifically for that, just because I wasn't really sure how it would feel. So I did a lot of like 30-20, 30-20, 30-20.
Like Saturday 30, Sunday 20 kind of thing?
Yeah. Okay. So I felt like as prepared, I think, as one could feel to like know that my body could handle the mileage going into it. A lot of like 70 to 80 mile weeks, I think, for the most part.
Nice.
And honestly, the hardest part, I think, of Antelope was that like flat ranch out and back section, because it was like later part of the day, just hot, flat. Like there's no uphill or downhill to like reprieve your legs.
Yeah.
And I was like struggling pretty hard at that point, but still moving.
Yeah.
When I came back at 50 to head back out, I had an entire crew of like 15 people. My friends had come through. Yeah. And there's like boxes of pizza, and I was like, okay, I've got a squad here to like help me change.
That does remind me. Part of your like vibe or ethos is party.
Yeah.
Like like the dancing videos or whatever. So. I mean, talk to me about that. Is there anything practical about that, or is that just like an expression for you? Is there a part of you that knows like, hey, I'm going to be down. Can you guys make sure that you're there to do X, Y, Z?
Yeah. So I think for me, the intention of doing all of these like music videos is the concept of doing even a 50K, right, is ludicrous. This is a stupid idea to be running this far. Yeah. So if I'm going to be paying to suffer, I might as well have a fucking good time, right? And so a good way to keep that at the forefront of the mind is, okay, what ridiculous music video can I make to, you come through the aid station, the volunteers are stoked to be singing and dancing to something. Yeah. And so is your crew. It gives a chance for your crew to kind of interact with each other and be talking about it. Yeah. Because sometimes they know each other, sometimes they don't. Right. So, and then for me too, it's like, okay, it's something for me to zone out during the race. It's like, okay, well, I haven't filmed this one section. So like, let me think about what could I do for that? A good way to kind of like distract myself a little bit from the pain.
Okay. So you come into mile 50, like, so is there a piece of the way that you think about these high mileage races of like, are you intentional with what that 50 mile really is going to look like? Are you thinking, do you like that maybe some of your crew members aren't going to know each other? Is there like a social component to that to you that's like, hey, this is going to be kind of fun. Like we're going to be all introduce this person to this person. And
yeah, I think especially in the longer stuff, you see people like all of a sudden your crew has like inside jokes with each other, and you get to see it progress as you come through. Yeah. And for me, like I love community. I love bringing people together. So as I can see that happening as I'm running is like a privilege to be able to see something like that. So I don't know that I really have like an intention necessarily, but when I'm doing these races, almost or every big race that I've done, I've raised money for charity, the charity that speaks to me, and I've kind of used this like wow distance as a platform to be able to, it catches people's eye if you're saying you're running 100 miles or 200 miles. Yeah. It's like, oh, by the way, Alzheimer's Association is a great organization. Check them out. Donate some money. So for me, like there are definitely times during, 50 miles in or 100 miles in or whatever the distance is. But I think for me, ultimately what it comes back down to is the reason why I sign up for these races is to, bring light to something that's much bigger than me. Yeah. And so when I remind myself of that, or remind myself that I'm supposed to be dancing and having fun or whatever it is, it's so much easier to be like, okay, this pain is temporary, this whatever is fleeting. So let's just like put our head down and remind ourselves that we're here for, a greater purpose and just keep it trucking.